So for section 2, multiplying and dividing rational expressions, the key is, do you remember how to multiply fractions? And to multiply fractions, it is as simple as top times top over bottom times bottom. Multiply straight across. Multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and now we have one fraction that we reduce just like we did on Friday. That is literally the only new step that we're doing today, is that you have to combine the top parts, multiply it together, combine the bottoms, multiply those together, and then we're done. We simplify it the rest of the way like we did on Friday. So let's try this. Number 1, I'm going to multiply the top two. 6 times -2 is -12. Once this opens, there it goes. So 6 times -2 is -12. We will need to put the a there. So -12a over a squared times a to the third. And so really that's going to end up being -12a over a to the 5th power. Does that make sense? -12a over a to the 5th power. And now I have a's on top and the bottom. One a is going to cancel out or simplify. Again, a over a is just 1. So really this becomes -12 over a to the 4th power. And I need to say that a cannot equal 0. A can't be 0 because again, if I divide by 0, it's an error. Yes. So when I multiply a squared times a cubed, I add the exponents. That's exactly right. Good questions. So now, any questions on number 1? Let's try number 2. This one, the numbers are bigger. I would actually recommend that you don't multiply them all the way out. I would actually write this as 18 times 25 x times y squared on top divided by 10 times 30 x to the 4th y on the bottom. Because our very next step is going to be to simplify, right? And so it's going to be easier to kind of see what goes into these numbers when they're not giant. So do you guys see anything that goes into the top and bottom?
Yes.
What? Do we agree that 5 would go into, you could do this a couple different ways, right? We could do 5 goes into 25 and 10. That'd leave me with a 5 and a 2. But then does 5 go into 30 also?
Yes.
Yeah, so you could do 5 goes into 30 6 times.
3 goes into
3 goes into 18 and 6. So I could do that. 2, that's 9. No, it's not. 6. 6. There we go. Almost done.
We have to keep going?
2 goes into 6 3 times. So I can get rid of one of the 2's. And this whole thing, 18 times 25 over 10 times 30, reduces down to 3 over 2.
That was a lot of work for this one problem.
Yep. There's going to be a lot of that.
Can I just get like a
Can I get all in there? Is
showing work?
that better? You can see all of it at once. So if you had multiplied these together, if you did 18 times 25 over 10 times 30 and got the big number divided by the small, essentially, what is that? I don't even know what 18 times 25 is. Over 300, it would reduce to the same thing. Okay. I think it's like 450 over 300. It would reduce to the same thing, 3 over 2. So now let's do the variables. Looks like I have an x on the top and the bottom, but I actually have 4 x's on the bottom. So one set would reduce. X over x would just be 1. But how many x's would be left over?
3.
3 on the top or the bottom? Yep, x to the 3rd on the bottom. And the y's, y squared over y, one of them would reduce. Y over y would just be 1, but we still have 1y left on the top. So there's my answer. I should have said the excluded values before I simplified. We had x's and y's on the bottom. So I need to say x cannot be 0, but neither can y. Neither of those can be 0. Now, any questions on those first two? All right, why don't you guys try numbers 1 and 3 in the homework right now? If you want to work ahead, we're doing numbers 1 through 12 total, but I would suggest you wait on the division ones, okay? So if you wanted to try to work ahead, but really 1 and 3 is probably going to be good. I'll give you 2 minutes, do those problems quickly, then we'll do some more examples. So back in the notes, number 3, 3x plus 12 on the top here. I'm going to factor it. 3 goes into both of those. 3 times x plus 4. So still go 3 out of both. Then, and look at the next one. Let's just do the bottom next. X squared minus 9 is a difference of squares. So that's going to be x plus 3, x minus 3. Now I'm going to do the same thing for the second fraction. The x minus 3 right here doesn't factor. So I'm just going to put it in its own set of parentheses. The whole thing is one block. And the 4x plus 16, that I can factor a 4 out of, leaving me with x plus 4. 4 times x plus 4. So all I've done so far is factor it all and say, okay, all the top factors are on top, all the bottom factors are on the bottom, all multiplied together. Now I'm going to look and see if there's any identical twins, any factors that are exactly the same on the top and the bottom. What do we see?
The x plus 4 and x minus 3.
That's exactly right. X plus 4 is here and here, x plus 4 over x plus 4. Again, as long as it's the whole piece, the whole factor, x plus 4 over x plus 4 is going to reduce down to just 1. And the x minus 3 and x minus 3, both of those reduce down to just 1 over 1. So what I'm left with is just a 3 on the top and a 4x plus 3 on the bottom. I'm going to put the 4 out in front. That's the way you're always going to see it on a test or in a textbook or anything like that. That's how they'll write it. If you wrote it x plus 3 times 4, though, I wouldn't take any points off. Now, the notes, unlike the homework, the notes tell you that we're going to find the excluded values. So real quick, looking at the bottom of our fraction, our excluded values are -3, right? -3 would make this one 0, +3, and -4. We had a few of you in this class that when you were finding the x-intercepts, forgot to make it the opposite, right? So you would have had almost the same thing here. You would have had +3, -3, and +4. So close to being the same, but not quite. So -3, +3, -4 are our answers there. Does that make sense? Those are our excluded values that would make the bottom 0 here. So now, there's my answer. There's my excluded values. I'm done. Does anyone have any questions on that one? Let's look at another example. This is the exact same thing, but with even bigger things to factor. So I'm going to take it piece by piece. Yes, it looks harder, but the way we're working it out is exactly the same. So I'm going to factor, put all the factors on the top, all the factors on the bottom, and see if I have any duplicates on the top and the bottom. So right here, 2x squared plus 5x minus 3. That 2x squared is 2x times x. So I'm going to put a 2x times an x And then I just have to figure out how to multiply to make -3. How do I multiply to make -3? So we need a 1 and a 3. Let's just try it. Let's say I put a -3 here and a +1 here. If I do that, I'm going to get a 2x minus 3x, which does not make the 5x that I need. So that's no good. So let's try switching it. Let's do a -1 and a +3. 2x times 3 is 6x. -1 times x is -1x. 6x minus 1x. 6x minus 1x would be 5x. That's what I needed in the middle. So that is the factored form that's correct. Now I can do the bottom piece. X squared plus x minus 6. That's going to be an x plus 3 and an x minus 2. Minus 2. That way 3 times -2 would be -6. And 3x minus 2x would be positive 1x. If you are still struggling with factoring, you need to come in and talk to me. I am happy to go over as many problems as it takes until you get the factoring down, but you've got to be able to do it because it keeps coming up. Now, next one, can take this piece, 2x squared plus x minus 1. That should factor into, again, 2x and x. And there's only one way to make 1 and 1. So I just need to make sure I put the negative in the right spot. Looks like I should do probably 2x minus 1 and 2 or an x plus 1 so that I get a 2x minus 1x to make the positive x in the middle. So that one's factored. And then I have the bottom, which is a difference of squares. X squared minus 1 is x plus 1 and x minus 1. And I can go ahead right now is actually the best time to find the excluded values. Before I go any farther, anything on the bottom can't be 0. So before we start canceling stuff though, let's state the excluded values. X cannot equal, -3, positive 2, -1, and positive 1. Does that make sense to everybody? Where those excluded values are coming from?
Yes.
Let me raise this up for you guys. Now that I've done that, it's all factored. I've got my excluded values. I can say what reduces. Anybody see stuff on the top and the bottom that reduces? Okay, so x plus 3s.
X plus 1.
And x plus 1. So x plus 3 and x plus 3 right there. Use a different color here. X plus 1, x plus 1. Anything else?
No.
So some of the other classes said, well, it looks like we have an x minus 1, but this one's 2x minus 1. Does that make sense to everybody? Not exactly the same.
But there's another one.
And then the 2x minus 1s, there are 2 of them, but they're both on the top. Does that distinction make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
If they're both on the top, they're not going to simplify. So instead, 2x minus 1 and 2x minus 1, I can actually write this 2 different ways. I can do 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1 over x minus 2 times x minus 1. So this would be fine. That would be one answer. You can also, though, write that 2x minus 1 as 2x minus 1 squared, if you would like to. A little bit more condensed. Either one is fine. Does anyone have questions about that one? All right, so in the very last one here, I'm not actually going to do 5 all the way through. I'm just going to point out a couple of things real fast. The 2x squared minus 32 requires factoring twice. You can factor a 2 out. 2 times x squared minus 16. And then that x squared minus 16 is the difference of squares. 2x minus 4, x plus 4. The other denominator, this 3x squared plus 6x, that could reduce, or essentially I could factor out a 3x from both of those, making it 3x times x plus 2. We hadn't seen a lot of those, and so I want to show you those run just real fast. But I'm not going to do this one the rest of the way out unless somebody really wants to see it. Okay, so I'll finish it, but I want those of you that are feeling like you're able to try number 8 on the homework right now. But while you're doing that, I'll do this one, if anybody wants to see this one worked out. So these two pieces would actually all be on the denominator. And then I'm actually going to erase this part right here. So in the top, if I kept going, this part would be x plus 7 and x plus 2. And this piece right here be x plus 4 and x minus 1. So that would be it multiplied, or sorry, factored all the way out. And then I could look through, find my excluded values. X cannot be 4, -4, 0, and -2. Don't forget the 0 there from the x that's by itself. That x, if I put 0 in there, you're going to make it 0. And then I can simplify. So it looks like I can take out x plus 4s. X plus 4 over x plus 4 would be 1. X plus 2 over x plus 2 would be 1. And I think that would be it, leaving me with x plus 7 over x minus 1 divided by 2 times 3. So let's actually go ahead and multiply those. 2 times 3 would be 6. X minus 4. So there's the whole thing for that one. And I'll leave that up for a minute while you guys try to finish up number 8 on the homework before we go over that one. Got to resume the recording. So what we had said was, in order to, we skip number 6 there, we'll keep going. There's the answer for number 6. 2a to the 4th b over 3bc. When I want to divide one fraction by another, I keep the first one exactly the same. I change the sign to multiplication and I flip the other fraction over. 10ad cubed over 7b squared c. And now it's exactly like what we were doing on the front side. It's just a multiplication problem. Make it all one big fraction. Now, do you see anything that's on the top and the bottom of this fraction right now? Only one thing. There's a b on the top and the bottom. B over b is just 1. So I'm left with 2a to the 4th. Sorry, no. 2 times 10 is 20. A to the 4th times a is a to the 5th. D to the 3rd. 3 times 7 is 21. B squared. C times c is c squared. 20 a to the 5th, d to the 3rd, 21 b squared c squared. And then I just need to check anything that was ever on the bottom of a fraction. So I see b, c on both of those. B can't be 0. C can't be 0. But originally, I had a and d were also on the bottom of the fraction. So neither of those can be 0. A cannot be 0. D cannot be 0.
So A through D.
Yep, none of them can be 0. Number 8. Number 8. Looking at this, I'm going to flip that second fraction, but before I do, I'm actually going to rewrite this piece right here. 16 minus x squared. I'm going to factor a negative out of that. Negative x squared minus 16. That way I can switch the sign on the x, make it positive, switch the sign on the 16, make it negative, and it's easier for me to see, oh, that one is going to be a difference of squares. All over x squared plus 8x plus 16 times 2x plus 8 over 2x minus 8. So again, we did that keep, flip, change, changed it from a division when we're dividing by that fraction to multiplying by the reciprocal of the fraction. Now I'm going to factor it. This piece right here, difference of squares, negative x minus 4 times x plus 4. X squared plus 8x plus 16 is x plus 4 times another x plus 4. 2x plus 8, I can factor a 2 out of x plus 4. And then from the bottom, 2x minus 8, I can factor a 2 out of also. And there's actually a ton of stuff that simplifies here. X plus 4, x plus 4, x minus 4, 2's. Don't worry, you guys, we got time. We are left with just a negative 1. That is our full answer. Everything simplified on that one. Now, unfortunately, if you put your notes away, you missed something here. Letter I, we're not going to do it, but I want to show you guys. This is one fraction divided by another fraction. Rewrite it. The top one, x squared minus 8x minus 9 over x squared plus 3x minus 4 divided by the bottom, divided by this one, divided by x squared minus 1, x squared minus 81. The exact same kind of thing we were just dealing with. It's just written differently. Your homework is numbers 1 through 12. You've already done 3 or 4 of them. Get as much of that done for tomorrow as you can. We got about 30 seconds here. You guys can start packing up.